Yeah, so I'm Chris Allen, as Chad already pointed out, and as Dave pointed out too, I am an avid mixologist, and I'm actually going to be mixing drinks at the next Mobile Tea on Thursday night, so you guys should come out to that. But I'm also a developer and a co-founder of a company called Infrared5, and I'm going to talk about WebRTC from a Flash developer perspective. I don't really consider myself a Flash developer anymore. I think that's almost like a dirty word, right? But that's my background, if you will. The reason I have any kind of knowledge in this space is because back in 2005, a group of guys and me got kind of fed up with Macromedia and how they did their Flash communication server. And so we ended up reverse engineering the protocol, which is known as RTMP. It's the streaming protocol for Flash, and created this open source server called Red5. And through that, it basically took off to the point where we quit our day jobs and started our company, which is based in Jamaica Plain here in Boston. And we've been kind of supporting Red5 and live streaming stuff ever since. Of course, when we initially did this, these guys weren't too happy with us. These are the guys from Macromedia, and then they got acquired by Adobe. But we ended up helping them out on a pretty serious project that they were in on. And since we knew the protocol so well, they kind of hired us to come in and help with this NFL Sunday Night Football app. This is one of those where this is one of the first second screen apps, right, where you could use your laptop. This is, I think, 2008 when this came out, and watch the live game, and then you could pan to different cameras on the field at runtime, and we supported up to 1 million users on that thing. So anyway, I do know a little bit about how live streaming works from Flash, and of course now we're working on a new update to Red5, kind of a pro version, which supports mobile and WebRTC. And we have SDKs for mobile and all that stuff. So I encourage you to check it out at red5pro.com. And I promise not to do any more sales pitches tonight. So let's back up a little bit. I mean, before Flash, there was actually other stuff going on. And in particular, we can start back in the 1920s. This guy, General George Owen Squire, started a company called Wired Music. And he ended up liking the name Kodak and how cool it sounded, and he ended up changing the name to Muzak. And so he was the first guy to actually get a patent on transferring media or like sound over phone wires. And this turned into terrible elevator music company, but still the concept of streaming audio and what eventually became video in electronic format was started by this guy. And it wasn't really, updated much until the internet came along. And, that enabled all kinds of communication over it. And we really used to start out with this. I forgot to plug in my computer. There you go. Oh well. You guys remember this sound? How many of you guys know this sound? Yeah. So what's most ridiculous about this, of course, is that we would listen to that for a little while, and then we'd wait around to download a video even smaller than this that looked like that, and then we were like, yeah, look at that thing. But this is the first kind of online video, and it actually got to the point where you could actually do live streams. Like Real Player had a protocol for this. Apple came out with one with QuickTime. And then, Windows, of course, had to catch up on this too and did their own Windows Media Player. And so all of these things required a dedicated piece of software. Didn't work in a browser at this point. There's also a company called WebEx, which came out with a little thing that you'd install on your computer and allow you to do point-to-point video communication. But it wasn't until really Flash came along and Macromedia came along with a Flash communication server, which then allowed all the devices to connect together and right in the browser. I think, in many respects, Flash became this thing that allowed us to make the web do what we wanted it to. And it's great that we're finally getting to web standards which allow us to do things like live point-to-point or live streaming, video communication. And of course, we reverse engineered their stuff and then made it even more accessible for everyone. And one of the other things that's interesting about this is RTMFP. This is the Flash's peer-to-peer protocol. Initially, Adobe didn't come out with this thing. It was initially just routing through the server. But if you look at this little diagram here, it's remarkable how much it looks like WebRTC, where you've got the server that actually takes care of pairing the devices, and then then they can actually send their communication directly between the peers. And I think that this is kind of an important piece to the history here. Flash started out as kind of a server-based technology where everything was routing through a server, and then they found out that peer-to-peer might actually be a good thing for certain situations. I think WebRTC is actually going through the exact opposite. It started out as a peer-to-peer technology, and as Chad already pointed out, now people are starting to realize, oh crap, the server might be good for recording the session or something like that. So I think we're going to see a lot more innovation kind of in WebRTC on that. All right, so let's talk a little bit. How many of you guys have worked with Flash before, did ActionScript programming? Yeah, there you go, Giorgio. So you guys did any of you do any live streaming stuff? Okay, so a few of you kind of understand the net connection, net stream, objects. I think one of the things that Macromedia did when they designed this, they actually did a good job with the API. It's a pretty simple thing to use, and I'm going to explain it real quick for you guys. Oh, and shared object is this third one, which is kind of a data connectivity thing. Allows you to keep objects in sync between peers on the internet. So the net connection, that's probably too small to see. But anyway, the main thing to think about this is the thing you put in your server IP address or your server domain name, the port you need to use, and that'll create a connection to the server. Pretty simple, right? And then once you set that up, then you create a net stream. You connect the net stream to the connection, and then you can tell it netstream.play to play a live stream or a recorded stream, or you can do netstream.record or publish, I think is what it is. Anyway, we have the source code here in just a second. I already mentioned shared object. This is a really cool thing, and it allows people to write things like chats, you know what I mean, where you could actually have something where somebody's typing here, it goes and stays in sync because the person on the other client's reading this shared object, which gets updated and allows all the peers to stay in connection. So here's an example in AS2. I picked AS2 because it's so similar to JavaScript. It practically is JavaScript, so I thought that was a good comparison to the JavaScript way this is done. So first thing you do is you set up a net connection and then connect to your server. That's pretty simple. There is, if you see this app name and app instance piece here, that's actually kind of a concept with the media server thing that you have to have set up so it knows what to connect to. And then the stream, you create a new instance of a net stream and then pass in your connection to the constructor, and then that makes it connect. And then you tell the stream.publish. That's how you can actually publish like a camera view. And then you attach the video camera, and then you're all set. And then you're actually publishing a live stream. In this case, you can notice that we've added the record parameter, and that means that it's recording on the server now. Key thing about it is this my stream thing in quotes. That's actually the name of the stream or the key for it. So when you want to actually play it back, you'll see further down here, stream.play, my stream, that'll actually play it back. In this case, it's a recording because it's in the same app. But if you had another Flash player watching that stream, you could actually just hit stream.play and watch whatever stream it is. Another thing about this shared object, this is basically what we used to do for kind of the signaling piece, where we would actually tell, hey, I've got Chad over here, he's on this Flash client, and Chris here, we would announce ourselves over this shared object and then make the pairing to what stream name you wanted to connect to. That was one of the easiest ways to kind of create a video chat application, for example. Now, in contrast, to set up a WebRTC example, it's much more complicated. I think we are making strides to make this simpler. The ORTC initiative is a really good one. And then there's other people to put abstractions under it with some simple JavaScript libraries. Here's a few of them. I know EasyRTC is like super easy. But these other ones are good choices as well, and there's tons of them, actually. But I think learning from the way Flash did things is actually probably a good thing, and we actually modeled our SDK for mobile a little bit after that, partly because we had a server already in existence which was working with this stuff, but we also found it to be pretty elegant and easy to work with as a developer. So just quickly, like I said, we've updated Rep5 to include this Pro plugin that sits on top that allows the connections to get there. And then we have currently iOS and Android SDKs, but we are working on a JavaScript SDK to be able to hook into the server. The cool thing about the JavaScript SDK is it's also going to have a Flash fallback. So for Windows IE that's not 10, you're going to be able to just fall back to Flash and for whatever your WebRTC stuff is if you're using our stuff, which I think is going to be pretty handy. Here's just a quick example of how we're doing the Android API. Java is a pretty close language to JavaScript too, so it creates a good comparison. And you can see a lot of the similarities in this. And then this is pretty much what we're envisioning the JavaScript library to look like. So just creating a new stream, passing in a connection to it, grabbing your video source, and then attaching the camera and attaching the mic and then publishing. So that's it. Any questions? Giorgio.
JavaScript SDK would be open source or closed source?
Yeah, the JavaScript SDK would be open source. Yeah.
Cool.
Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, so the question is, when do we anticipate it being done? I think we're going to have a beta of it probably in the early fall, and then releasing sometime late fall. Right. Yeah. Pardon me?
Python in the future?
Python. I haven't even thought of it really. We do have a C-based library, so you should be able to tie in with Python and other native libraries pretty easily. But yeah.
We do have microphones in the audience too. To keep things moving, I actually asked if you don't mind just saving your questions till the break. Hopefully you can find Chris and talk then.
Perfect.
And since you need to come up anyway, I'll let you ask your question as you come up. But
So Chris, I'm Jim from Oracle. So one question I have for you, since you're so passionate about Flash and now passionate about WebRTC, is that we work with a lot of customers that have built various forms of collaboration solutions that are Flash-based today, and they're thinking about moving to WebRTC, but they're not sure if the time is right. Sometimes they'll say that, well, IE doesn't have it today, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, do you have an opinion on that discussion?
Yeah, in fact, that's the main reason we decided to make the Pro version of our server, because we've got a ton of customers that are looking for a way off of Flash. Now the problem is it's not ready completely, right, because it's really Chrome and Firefox at the moment, and not all the mobile browsers support it like Safari. So you need kind of a fallback plan at the moment. But I think that's changing pretty quickly.